You hidden.
Yep.
Because we're live right now.
We're live.
Premature button pushing. All right. Well, hello, guys. Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Reviewer's Queue. Today we have an interesting one. This one is on all things box mods. And next we're going to talk about mech mods and tubes and if those big clunky tubes are ever going to come up in style. With us today is obviously my sweet co-host, Ruby Roo.
Oh, hi. Matt, that's so nice.
You didn't expect that, did you?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
And GrimmGreen. What are you guys vaping on tonight?
I think Nick should go first.
Well, I was told it was a tube mod show. So I'm vaping on a tube mod. It's the Kryptonite Vapor Cam mod. Possibly one of my favorite mech mods of all time. Dot mod Petrie version 1.5. Dot mod Drip Tip. Milk Plus as my juice.
It's how do we describe this show? Because I probably described it a little bit bad in the description. Like, we're going to talk about box mods, but also tube mods and whether tube mods are ever coming back.
I think Ruby just said tube mods to me.
No, that is a lie, and you know it.
Okay, fine. Then I'm going to use my box mods.
Yeah, plus you have to retro vape for us.
I have to what?
You have to retro vape for us.
Oh, okay. I don't have any retro vaping stuff.
Screw the pooch on that one, man. You're missing out. Way to fuck up the whole show, Nick. Way to go.
Did we
Sorry.
just pick him out right now?
That's it. Roll credits. We're done here.
Done. Out.
Ruby, what are you vaping on?
I actually have like a bunch of different setups here since we're talking about all things box mod tonight. So I have one of my new favorites. I got the 44 from Lit Up Customs here. The 44. This is a DNA 200. Freaking love it. It's gigantic though. It's huge. Nick's got his there too. I've got
What's the
two.
battery life like on that?
What's that?
On the 44, what's the battery life like?
It's great. It's 2,000 mAh, but because it's lipos and the way that they're like all engineered, things that I don't understand yet, but I'm going to learn. The battery life is pretty radical. I really like it.
Yeah, it's been good.
I've also got some hexams here. Just being friends with hexams because they're one of my faves. I've got my Titan because I love the Titan, and I've also got this, and I want to talk about him later. I reviewed this, the Subbox kit. We'll talk about him a little later, but yeah, that's what I got.
The first 2 minutes of the show were all just on my face. Sorry, I accidentally pressed the wrong button there.
Ugh, so waxy.
So damn waxy.
Amateur. Bush. It's Bush League.
I know. And here I'm trying to make up for my poor performance on Nick's couch, and I started out with that.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk
Hashtag
about?
me here.
What do you want to talk about first, Ruby?
Well, I think, well, you didn't say what you were vaping on.
Oh, I am vaping on the Aeolus, and I'm switching off at the Kennedy Aeolus V2 Hexome, the Vape Droid with the Hobo 3.1 on there. It's a cute little setup.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got right now. I got other shit in front of me.
Other shit. So, Matt, what are you vaping on? Man, just shit.
Well, if you saw my desk,
stuff.
it's just like I
Other
probably
shit.
have 30 mods within reach of me right now. Yeah.
So, guys, what we're going to talk about tonight is obviously box mods. The first thing that I would like to talk about is basically just their current popularity. I mean, box mods are everywhere now, especially when you go to a vape meet. The entire world seems to be obsessed with box mods, and in fact, you guys can probably attest to this as well. But like, whenever I do a review for mechs, there's like, it's like some of my like fewest watched videos because people seem very less interested in mechs right now. And then you throw up like a box mod video, and people are like all over it. So I just kind of wanted to talk first about like their current popularity and basically why we think that they're so popular right now. So, I don't know. Matt, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Well, we all saw this coming last year, right? I mean, with the box mods started getting well, I mean, they've been kind of popular, but they really started hitting hard like towards the end of last summer, it seems like to me at least. And the reason I think they got popular is for a few different things, actually. If you look at a regulated tube mod, you know, and trying to use it, the thing's freaking, you know, longer than a foot-long hot dog. And
baton. This is a file, by the way.
Yeah, and so,
it's very long.
you know, just boxes seem to make sense when it comes to regulated mods, to where you can have a battery on one side and the board on the other, and it's a little bit wider, instead of having battery and then the board on top of the battery and then the mod. So it's just, you know, it's a little bit easier for people to use. Also, more battery life, because you can get mods that will hold 2 batteries. And so it's, you know, it's not that I think tubes are dead. I think regulated tubes are pretty dead, though, at least in this country. They're still kind of popular in places like Germany, where they're into like scepter-style vaping, is what they call it. They have these long-ass tube mods where they'll stack batteries, and they have long addies like the big German and shit like that. But
Germans are so weird, and I can say that. My brother-in-law is German. One of my good friends is German. They are weird people.
They got some weird friends. But in the States, I don't see tube-regulated mods ever really being as popular as they once were. Nick, what do you think?
No, not unless you can shrink down the batteries or shrink down the circuit boards or anything. I shot my vlog today, and my retro vaping, spoiler alert, was the old iTaste SVD, and I put it in an 18650 mode with a clearomizer on it, and it was like 1.5 feet long. It was ridiculous, and I used to walk around with that all the time, like it was my favorite thing. I would go to work with that. No wonder people thought I was fucking crazy. I would go to work vaping this giant baton. Box mods are popular because, you know, before box mods you were limited to a single battery's battery life, and now you can have 2 or 3 18650s or 2 26650s or, you know, a 4,000 mile lipo pack. And especially, I mean, one of the reasons I think you see them at Vape Meet so much is because people use one mod the whole time. They're down at the Vape Meet for, you know, whatever, 8-10 hours, and they need a mod that's going to last the whole time. And that's, I mean, the box mod solves that battery life problem easily.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think battery life is a huge a huge part of it. Someone actually mentioned that in chat as well. That it's like, it really is, part of it is battery life, because a lot of the box mods are like running like dual parallel or dual series, and you get to enjoy some nice battery life off of that. I think also for me, at least the current trend in box mods, like Matt was saying, there was a big kind of push like last spring and last summer, and that's when I bought my first Hexome, actually, the Hexome V1, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. Box mods are amazing, you know. But and even before that, right before that, my very, very first mod was the MVP2, like from Innikin, and I think that mod was huge in starting the box mod trend, and then more and more and more companies started following like the box mod trend, and now like everybody makes box mods. Everybody does.
The original MVP, I believe, was the first like custom made box mod. Before that, people were using plastic boxes. Back in 2011, we had the Big Kazoo, which was a 5-volt regulated plastic box. It was just a plastic project box with 2 14500 batteries in it, you know, the size of a AA battery. And we just thought it was the greatest thing on earth. I think that's one of the first box mods I ever remember having and using and enjoying. That wasn't like a regulated tube. This is when the ProVary was, you know, had just come out, and everyone had like ProVary fever.
Yeah, I still, as far as tube regulateds, I think like that Pro Vari version 2 is probably still my favorite. It was a little bit shorter. You know, tube mechanicals though, I still love them. It's still, there's just something about a tube mech that just feels great. Uh, you know, tube our mech boxes obviously are pretty popular now too. A lot of it's just ergonomics as well. I mean, I think it feels, you know, people are starting to really make their own design from box mods. You know, like the C frames came out, which came off of box mods, and you got more mods with contours like the eye stick. You know, like this mod. I mean, this holds like a 26,650, and then kind of shrinks down to like that 22 millimeters on this side, and it's one of the most comfortable mods I've ever held, and you can have like 4,000 mAh battery life. So it's just kind of, I don't know. I mean, when you're out and about, a box mod's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, the only time I use my mechs at home, but I don't really bring them out anywhere. And usually at like if I'm going to a meet, I mean, we're like mid-convention season right now, like ECC is about to come up, and I'm always like, okay, I'm gonna bring like 18 box mods, and then I'll bring like my one mech. Like, which mech am I gonna bring? But yeah, it's very, very interesting to have like witnessed this complete shift. And even still at the beginning of 2015, there were still like, I think some of it had to do with expense as well, because there were so many people who were like, why does this shiny metal tube cost so much? And so like right at like the end of 2014 was when a lot of like the inexpensive mechs were coming out, and it became more affordable to get an inexpensive mech. But then like at that point, it was almost like the mechs were on their way out in popularity. So
yeah, and it kind of changes by area. When I went to the SoCal Vape Expo in February, there was loads of single tube mech mods everywhere. Everybody was using them. Single tube mech mods. Everyone was using them. Chelsea from SOV had a dot mod. I had a dot mod. Omboy had a tube mech. It's just, you know, and it kind of varies by region. I still see a lot of tube mech mods down here at meets.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, when you go up to Chicago or if you go out to North Carolina, it's a lot of boxes. And when I went up to the Pacific Northwest, that's people like huge boxes up there for some reason, like quadruple 26,650 boxes, like these custom jobs. So I think it kind of varies by area as well.
I noticed that at Vape Summit too. A lot more tubes. I mean, I was in Vegas, obviously close to Cali. A lot more tubes than I expected to see. You know, the cloud chasers and stuff. Obviously, still love them. And so I don't think you know, people always say mech tubes are dead. There's still people making them, and they still sell. But you definitely have to be better at it now. You know, you have to have something cool. Because if somebody comes out with a tube mech and it's just got that same old battery rattle adjustment in the top cap and it's just the same old, it's just kind of like, meh, what's the point of this? There's already a couple hundred of them. So you really have to bring something cool to the table, but they're still selling, just not as hot as they used to be. A lot of the mech tube companies, like in the higher end game, went out of business because, I mean, the higher end game is all about stabilized wood, regulated mods now.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them adapted and started making stab wood mods, but a lot of them just couldn't, you know, they couldn't do it. I mean,
stab wood.
There were mods.
Is that high horse language? Stab wood?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Stabilized wood. Sorry. There were mods like the Caravella, like a year or two ago, that were just fucking going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
The Caravellas go for like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, depending on the edition, they'd go for over $1,000. And now, you know, you have guys that had like $100,000 collections of tube mechs, and now they're maybe worth, you know, $5,000 maybe.
Yeah. So I think this would be a good time for us to talk about, and Nick, you briefly touched on this, about how box mods were back in the day. So it's time for some Grandpa Grimm. Yeah, I mean, so if you could share like your experiences, because you've been vaping longer than the world, except for like Scott and Flitz, like.
That's it. Well, technically, I think I've been vaping longer than Flitz has. I believe that. I believe that's. I think I've been vaping longer than Flitz has. But
yeah,
but
like
yeah.
what was your like do you remember your first box mod?
I do. My very first box mod, the first box mod I ever saw was the VMU, and it was sold by the now defunct, totally twisted Texas E-Liquid. I saw it at the Midwest Vape Fest, which was in St. Louis in 2010, and it was, like I was saying about the Big Kazoo, it was a double 14500 battery, so two AA sized batteries, and it had a variable voltage, whatever, chip in it, and it was in series, and it went from 3 to 6 volts, and I might have it. I might actually have it if you want to let me go look for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dead air. I'll go look for it. Hang on.
Dead air.
I think my first box mod was the MVP 2.
Yeah, mine was. That was like my first like mod. Like when I switched from Egos, I had like a little Vision. No, it wasn't a spinner. The Smoke Tech Winder I had.
I did that thing too. Like.
Yeah, and then that was like, and then my next like big step up. My big step was to the MVP 2, and I used that for a long while. And then my next one after that was the my first mech. So.
I remember Vanessa got me the MVP. She knew I wanted the MVP 2 bad, and she got it for me for my birthday. And I remember just thinking that thing was like high end, like that was the most expensive mod that I had, and it was just like felt so cool, like. But yeah, that thing was great for what it was for a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, funny story really quick about my MVP version 2 purchase. I saw before I bought it, I saw Nick had like a photo of it and he posted it on his website. And he had like a K fund on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. And I was like, this is going to be the most popular mod. I need to make sure that I buy it like as soon as it becomes available, because it's going to be popular, and I didn't want them to sell out. Because this is my like newbie mentality. I'm like, it's going to sell out the moment that Nick does his review on it.
Yeah.
So I made sure to buy it before Nick's review, not really realizing that it's Innikin and they're made in China, and there's like 500 gazillion thousand million of them that they make. Right. So. Yeah. I paid $70 for my MVP 2.
Worth every penny. It was worth every penny.
Oh yeah,
worth every penny, absolutely.
Somebody just messaged me and said it's Todd's birthday today, so happy birthday, Todd.
Oh, it's Todd's birthday.
We miss you, Todd.
Very much.
So yeah, I went and grabbed. This was the VMU, and it was a plastic. I don't even know what these boxes were used for. I assume they came from like Radio Shack. They're just plastic. The back slides off, and there was two 14500 batteries. So super clean on the inside. At least it had ribbons. I mean, that alone is ahead of its time. And it had a little potentiometer right here that you had to adjust with a screwdriver, and it went up to 6 volts, and it would show you on the display when you press the button what voltage you were running at, and it had a fixed, a very, very fixed 510 connection on there, because back then we didn't think about how far your 510 was sticking out. You didn't have to worry about it making a connection or not. It just always worked, because our atomizers were all coming from China. They were all disposable atomizers. And so this is the first box mod I think I ever saw, and I got one shortly after that event, and I used it for a solid year afterwards, because of how small it was. It was really, really small, fits in your hand, and it was plastic, so in the wintertime it didn't get cold. I would go outside on my breaks on graveyard shift and try to vape like a metal tube mod, and it would just like stick to your hand because the frost was so cold. But this was plastic, and it did not do that. I'm gonna try and find some batteries. I want to get this thing working again.
Funny because it's kind of, you see the influence from some of the mods now that have, like the Raptor chips and the OKL chips with the same potentiometer with that voltage screen. I'm sure that thing's amp rating was probably only like 2 or 3 amps. Now they're 20. But
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm trying to remember what my next box mod purchase was after the MVP. I'm not sure that I remember. It actually might be, the Hex V1. Because I bought I think I bought a couple mechanicals. Oh.
4.4 volts, son. I wish I had an
Now
atomizer to put on here.
Now pop a sub-ohm coil on there.
Yeah, there's not a chance. There's not a chance it'll run it. I'm sure there's no MOSFET.
I'm trying to think of what my second box mod was too, because I didn't get another one after that MVP for a while. I was stuck on the Pro Vari for a long time.
Oh, that's right. You and V both have Pro Varies. I remember I saw V's at VaporCon West last year, I think, and it's like the pink and the pink.
Yeah,
and
that's
white
one mod that I'll never get rid of, just because it's kind of like that with the K fun was just like my go-to for.
Oh yeah, Vaping like P. Basardo right there.
Yeah, and that's why I bought it, because Phil Basardo has always used it, and I'm like, I want to get what this guy uses, because he obviously tries a lot. He obviously tries a lot of shit, and I'm jealous of his hair. So I'm gonna buy what he vapes.
I never had a Pro Vari.
I didn't either. I almost bought one, and then I didn't.
Good. I'm glad you didn't.
I was actually my first mod purchase was either gonna be the Vamo. Oh God, which one was it? Was it the 2 Vamo 2? I don't remember which number it was. I think it was either the Vamo 2 or the MVP 2. And I was one night, really late at night, I'd been, Josh went to bed or something, and I was there, I had my computer, I was, watching videos, and, having a cocktail, and I was like, fuck it! I'm buying the MVP! My decision was just whatever! Because I just wanted something smaller, and I didn't want to have to go out and buy batteries and buy a charger. I just liked the internal because I didn't have to buy anything extra.
Did you say it like that? Okay.
In my mind, I totally did.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we could talk about going into the future with box mods, and what are some of the things we think we might see. Ruby, what do you think?
The future of box mods. Well, I think a lot of the current why box mods are remaining popular is temp control. I really do. I think a lot of people are getting more and more into it. I mean, personally, not myself really. I don't really enjoy vaping temp control. It's just not my jam. But I think with the influx of especially the Chinese companies who are coming out with lesser expensive mods that offer temp control, I think that's going to continue to perpetuate the box mod trend.
Yeah. If you're gonna put temp control and an 18650 in a mod, a box is the only viable option.
Yeah.
There's no way to put that in a tube and make it appealing for someone to go, I would like to purchase your 5.5 foot long mod. That would
Yeah. I had a DNA 40 sent to me from Volcano. They just made a DNA 40, and it's kind of cool looking, but it's still tube mod and it's kind of long.
Yeah, it is really. I have one of those. Mine's malfunctioning, but it's long. It's a baton.
But I a year ago, I would have looked at that thing and just thought it was fucking badass. 40-watt tube mod,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's just cool. I think we're gonna, because of the DNA 200, we're obviously gonna see more and more lipos, which it's a good thing and a bad thing. Lipos still scare me. Once I saw Vanessa's mod vent when she wasn't even vaping it. It was just she was just holding it, walking down the street, and the thing started venting. I mean, we're gonna see that more and more often with all these lipo mods coming out. And I know people are always like, well, it's people they use them in RC cars and it's totally safe and blah blah. With RC cars, you're not putting it up to your mouth or keeping it in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly. If that lipo fails, it's like on like a little dirt track. Or like a little track.
Imagine when somebody at some point is gonna vent a lipo on the fucking plane. Vanessa was bringing that mod on the plane with her. Like, could you get that thing vent? I mean, it was like a bomb. She threw it on the ground. It's shooting gases out the side. If that happened on a plane, it would be national news.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. Well, and RC car people, I've said this before, but they have special like explosion-proof baggies that they charge their lipos in because safety. We don't do that. We're just like, yeah, here's your EVIC VT. Just charge it on the wall while you're sleeping overnight. Just do that. Take no safety precautions. We don't. I don't know why we haven't adopted stuff like that. You're absolutely right. But there's a way that you can build with lipo packs that to make it safer than just Dave the modder building some sort of giant lipo pack. Like, I trust Joe Litt on his lipo packs and his building ability in this particular mod because he really knows his shit and he knows how to build it. But, these other, like I said, Joe the modder, he might not know 100% what he's doing. He might hook up a lipo pack to a circuit board and be like, I made a mod. And in reality, no, you didn't. You made an explosive device.
Yeah, you know that's going to happen. Some smaller modder's going to skimp on lipos and buy the cheaper ones. And somebody's going to end up. I guarantee you, over the next year, we're going to hear about this more and more. So what I think, and somebody else was talking to me about this the other day, and what Evolve should have done with that BNA 200 board. Who was it? Oh, it's the guy that makes the Vape Droid. Making it so the board can read what batteries you're using and can limit it compared to. So, for example, say you're only using dual 18650s, then that board will only go up to 100 watts. Say you're using, just read the voltage of your batteries. If you're using three lipos in series, then it'll let you go up to that 200 watts. But now it's like a lot of these modders are limited to just making these lipo mods.
Yeah, there was a post, I think, was it in Plumes maybe, the Plumes Facebook group? I think someone posted it in there. Maybe it was from Reddit, don't remember. But there was this guy using these like janky-ass lipos and like jamming them into a Hammond box, which is fine, but you don't want to use he was using like super cheap, like nobody's heard of the name lipo packs for his DNA 200 mod, and I'm like, no. And I think Joe Litt piped in on that thread as well. Like, you don't use the world's cheapest batteries on a 200-watt mod. You just don't.
I still love 18 series and 26 series mods the best as far as why aren't there more single 26 650 mods? Like, this thing's.
I know, it makes sense.
It's a great size.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
40 amp batteries in there, more than enough power. I wish we saw more stuff like that. So modders, do it. Get on it.
So if we could talk briefly for a moment about all the different types, we're kind of headed in that direction. So we've talked briefly about regulated Chinese boxes and temp control and how that's kind of perpetuating the popularity. Then there's also mech boxes, which I think we should touch on. Unregulated MOSFET boxes, and there's boxes like the hexomes, series versus parallel. So what do you guys think? Nick, why don't you start? How about we talk about, I don't know, what do you want to talk about?
I don't know, but I'll tell you.
I don't know.
A lot of that, I think it's good that there's a wide variety. I think a lot of it is personal preference. I love the hexomes and the hexome V2. I really, really like it. Sometimes it feels limiting.
Do you like it?
I like it. I think they're great.
Do you like this one?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, available at namberjuice.com. So, I haven't done a review of the Hexome V2 for that exact reason, just because we sell them. I think they're great. I feel like sometimes I'm limited by the hexome and some of the chips, like the OKL and the DNA40. I prefer dual parallel 18650 unregulated MOSFET mods. To me, that's like the Titan. I think that's like the perfect mod for me for the way that I like to vape, because I don't like feeling limited. I build a certain way, and that certain way fits that type of box, and that's just what I'm attracted to. And John, even at VaporCon West, he's like, "What do I have to do to get you to vape a hexome?" And I said, "Make an unregulated one."
Yes.
And I'll absolutely vape it.
They have unregulated series versions, but they don't have an unregulated dual parallel MOSFET. And I'm like,
that's what I want.
But they do. They have made a couple of custom ones, and I've seen them. Amy Jeanette 86 from Instagram, they made one for her, and her serial number is #Amy. Like whacked, and it has like 4 MOSFETs in it, and it's like dual parallel. I'm so jealous of her mod, but
yeah, that's exactly what I want in a box.
Yes.
I'll be a happy camper.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I like unregulated mods as well. I tend to kind of like the full mech boxes, just because I like the idea of not having wires. It's just kind of cool. The fact that it's all like this box that's engineered to mechanically blah blah blah. It seems like less could go wrong. What drives me nuts is when you see somebody that's selling unregulated MOSFET boxes or something, and they just call them a mechanical box. That's one of my biggest pets.
I hate that.
Well, that was the original appeal of the mech tube, was that there was no wires or circuitry that could possibly go wrong. I mean, back in 2010, when the first tube mech mods were coming out, that was the appeal of it. That was the selling point, was you can clean your own contacts, there's nothing that can fail, there's no wires or circuitry or circuit boards to possibly fry. That was the appeal of them, and that's why everybody started using mech mods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing to go bad, and you can just clean your contacts, and essentially it would last forever.
It's all user serviceable, unlike a Pro Vari, where if something goes wrong or you fry a little thingy. I mean, I'm not an electrician, so I don't know.
You fry your thingy?
I'm saying you can fry little thingies in there. That's it. You have to send it back to Pro Vape to get fixed. But if you have a mech mod, you can clean your contacts or clean your spring or get a new spring or fix it yourself. That's part of the appeal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one thing that I don't have in my mod collection right now is a mech box, and I really, really want one. I really do. The Castigador is the one that I was really looking at purchasing, because it looks so crazy, and it's tiny.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's
so
great.
If there, and then there was the Dos Equis. That's beer. Is that the same? Is that a mod too?
That's a mod too. Yeah.
But it had issues with if you put a key on it on the side, it would fire. I'm I don't really want it.
It's because the outside of the body was the ground.
Yeah.
And so if you connected them, or one of the two, if you connected them with a key or something, it would fire just in your pocket.
Yeah.
This one right here is the Wotan, but it's top fire. A lot of these are top fire, but they're kind of cool. Yeah, the problem if you make a fully metal mech box, I think, is that you can do that where if you touch a key, you got to have some Delrin or something in between there somehow. Because a lot of people have had those issues with the Dos Equis. I think we're going to continue to see more and more mech boxes coming out. They're all fairly expensive, they're like the new tube mechs where they're all $200+.
Yeah, they're expensive.
It does take some work with engineering though, and when I took the Castigador apart, it's pretty cool the way it works.
Yeah.
I think I would totally have bought a Castigador if it didn't. It kind of looked weird. Right? I mean, it looked a little bit like a cigarette box, and the skull, with the guns, and well, it's not. And they apparently came out with a limited edition pink one, but I don't really care for pink, so I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm waiting for the market to catch up, I guess, with like what I want.
Amy Hanks has that. Amy Hanks has that.
Amy has that one. Yep.
The pink one looks cool, though. I mean, I'm not a.
I think so too.
It looks cool. I just wish it wasn't like, it's pink.
I'm not too man to vape a pink mod. I almost bought a pink wood mod the other day because it looks fucking rad. Some purples are cool too.
I like my purple. I like purple. I don't know.
That's
I just have this like
pink, Ruby Roo.
Purple is basically pink. I mean, really.
Purple is basically pink.
It's not. So, I think another thing that we should discuss is like the popularity of Hammond boxes and like how it became so easy for like Joe Schmo to like make a box. What do you guys think about Hammond boxes?
Yeah, I think we've gotten as much life as we can out of the Hammond box. I think I personally think that the Titan is well, that mod's on the ground. I personally think that the Titan is like the peak, highest quality as far as you can possibly take the Hammond box. It's got a great button. He did the whole thing with the top and the notch on the bottom, and it's the. I think this is it. I don't think you can go any further with the Hammond box. I think we've got a good year out of modding the Hammond box. I think its time is over. But where would vaping be without the Hammond box?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like.
Yeah, we owe a lot to the Hammond box.
Thanks, Canada.
Well, yeah, where would vaping be without the guy oh my god, brain fart. First guy that made the like the 50-watt mod. Nick, Goss.
Oh, Goss, yeah, the Duke.
Yeah, Goss,
Freaking
the Duke.
Let's talk about the Duke. I think that credits due where credits due.
Yeah, I think the Duke was ahead of its time. It was I mean, it was a regulated 50 whatever what was it, 100 watts?
The first one was 50.
It was 50
It was
watts.
50. It was that first OKL T10 board.
Yeah, the OKL T10. It was 50 watts. It was a Hammond box, and Goss made them. And I think he was the first to make a regulated Hammond box mod with dual 18650s in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. It pretty much changed the way that I vaped. With 50 watts, at your disposal, you can start building differently and using different tanks and using different atomizers, and it totally changed my view of vaping and how I vaped. It was great. I think it was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually somebody would have done it, but he was the first, and it definitely changed. That's really what I guess we probably should have mentioned that earlier, because that's really what hit box mods, and that's after that they just started coming out fast because a lot of people started doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
People still comment on my Duke video all the time.
Yeah.
People are still interested in it.
I'm just checking chat here too, and it was not OKL because that's the new one. It was the OKR T10.
Yeah, OKR.
And Lab Rat Liquids is saying it came out at the perfect time because it was before the DNA 30 came out, and it was a 50-watt mod that had variable voltage, and so it was really like Nick, like you said, it was really like ahead of its time. It really was.
Before that, if you wanted high wattage vaping, you had to use a mech. I mean, that's...
Yeah, you just had to build low.
I mean, DNA 20 was high wattage back then. People were thinking, oh my god, 20 watts? This is crazy. I
remember I had a kick inside of a mech mod, and I was vaping a 1.5 ohm disposable atomizer at 10 watts, and I felt so dangerous. It was like a 1.5 ohm coil at 10 watts. I felt, it felt so powerful and so dangerous.
And when mechs first came out too, like the contacts really weren't especially conductive.
Yeah,
like my first mech I bought in 2013, and the contacts were brass. You know, and brass at the time was like, fuck yeah, brass. But if I was to put, like my 0.2 ohm build on that mech, I would definitely get hot button because it was a stainless. It was a stainless body too.
Yeah.
It's funny, I remember when the Duke came out and there were people like, why would anyone ever need 50 watts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like you just thought that was like the pinnacle. Like you would never need more than 50. You know, I'll maybe use 30 or 40 on it, but
Oh yeah.
now it's like 50-watt mods are considered underpowered.
I've got this 44 mod set to 127 watts right now.
Holy crap! It's set that high. Mine's set to 80.
Yep.
Mine's at 80.
Clouds.
But I have temp control, nickel wire, Ruby Roo.
Okay, you have temp control. What are you?
I'll have to show you. I think you would like this setup. I think it could win you over for temp control.
I don't know, man. I just don't care about it.
That's the temp control was underpowered. Once you get temp control up there, and you get to use some thicker gauged wire and stuff, it's fucking pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Like DNA 40s didn't do it for me in temp control because it just for drippers it was not.
Yeah, I need to play with this one because now that I finally have like enough power from a DNA board for how I vape, I'll probably play around with some builds for sure. But I just haven't gotten there yet. I don't know.
Mast in the chat mentioned something else that was kind of a big, and I'll give the Plumes credit, even though it'll go to their heads. But you know, they kind of championed the whole MOSFET thing, and that obviously changed things too. I mean, before that, guys were using, you know, just like 2-3 amp switches and stuff, and just fucked up shit was going on. So now, you know, MOSFET's just considered the norm. I mean, no one can buy a mod that doesn't have a MOSFET. But 6-10 months ago, you know, last fall, it was pretty standard to not see MOSFETs.
I still have a triple 18650 parallel box that I need to review that I got at Vapor Slam that doesn't have a MOSFET on the switch.
Yeah.
That's recent.
Actually, I reviewed one a while back that was made by a local company, and they don't make the mod anymore. But it was a dual 26650. You know, and they're like, oh, you can build all kinds of crazy low, blah blah blah, and I didn't know what a MOSFET was at the time. This is like, I don't know, 9 months ago, something like that. And I put the review up, and everyone was like, that doesn't have a MOSFET. That doesn't have, like, 1,000 comments were like, that's unsafe, that doesn't have a MOSFET, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit, like, I need to learn what this is. Like, what the fuck is a MOSFET, right? So I
for all that trolling, because it was right after I remember that video.
It was like right after
the Plumes, you know, championed the MOSFET and stuff, and then you got demonized. I remember that.
I did, yeah, because I honestly, I did not know. And so then I educated myself, learned about it. The review's still there, but I also made like a note in the comments, like, if you have safety concerns, talk to the modders about it, you know, that whole thing. But yeah, MOSFET Patrol, thanks Mast. Thank you.
It's been challenging for reviewers over the last year. You know, there's been a lot more to learn than there used to be.
Yeah.
As far as, like, with temp control and things like heat coefficient and making the right build for temp control is just like, you know, then MOSFETs and unregulated and switches and all that crap. I mean, we've had to kind of learn as we go. You know, it seems like, I mean, I haven't been reviewing for very long, like, what, a year and a half maybe now. But the first part of it was more just like RDAs, mechanicals, and, you know, an occasional like 20-watt, you know, DNA 20 or something like that.
Yeah, the last 6 months have been pretty crazy.
Yeah, the last 6 years have been pretty crazy. You kids don't know what you're talking about. Try dealing with the first time variable wattage is a thing. Try explaining variable wattage to somebody who has no idea what variable wattage is or does or how it's useful to you. That was a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine everybody's just always got volts on the brain, and they just trying to.
Yeah.
Darwin was the first one, right?
Yeah, the Darwin was the first one. I still have my first Darwin. 10 watts, baby.
You realize those Darwins will go in some crowds, they'll sell for like $1,500 now.
Really? Where? Do you have a link that I could see?
I would love to.
High-end collectors are like collecting shit like that.
No, I would never sell my Darwin.
There was this guy at a vape meet, my very, very first vape meet I ever went to. I was by myself. I had like my MVP2 and like my Pro Tank, and I was like, yay, local meet, yay. And I met this guy who had this incredible, he was really, really into like the GG products. And he sold like his entire collection. He showed me like a photo of his whole collection. He sold his entire GG collection to buy Darwins. And then like him and his wife were there, and they had their Darwins. And then he showed me a picture of his like Darwin collection, and I was like, bro, this is crazy. This is out of control, man.
Well, it was so limiting because I mean, it really only looked, well, it never looked normal, but it was made for like a cardo. You put a tank. I mean, it's just that little piece that comes out. You put a tank.
There's that little arm. You couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah. Still cool though. I mean, it's just cool. Like, it's so funny. I was talking to somebody else about this recently. How, we all have products and things that we use that are 3-4 years old. Hair dryers, whatever, shit like that. But you look at vape gear that's 3 or 4 years old, and it looks fucking ancient. I mean, it looks. You know what I'm saying? It looks like antiques or something now.
Yeah.
I mean, the screen on the Darwin looks like, like it was made in the 80s or something.
Yeah, well, and there's people who still stick by their tried and true devices. Like, I still talk to people, on the reg who still, they love their Pro Vari. That's what they use. It's like their workhorse. Like, that's all they've ever needed is their Pro Vari. I'll get emails where a guy's like, I've only ever used a Pro Vari, but I kind of want to get a mech mod. And I'm like, you've only ever used a Pro Vari? And, you've been vaping for 4 years. You've only ever used a Pro Vari. There's a whole world out there that, some people don't care. They get what they get, and they use it, and they like it until, like we would use a vacuum or a hairdryer just until it's literally dead on the floor.
Well, yeah, some people aren't like the hobbyists where they want to, even if I wasn't a reviewer, I would still be the hobbyist type of person that's always got to try the newest and coolest thing. But some people, they find something that works for them, and yeah, I'm sure there's still thousands of people out there using Pro Varis with the Cape Fun or Pro Varis with the, whatever, Nautilus, something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm. And hey, whatever works for you. I need to break my Pro Vari out again at some point.
I just thought you were gonna say I need to break my Pro Vari.
Yeah, I need to drop it on the ground.
Well, compared to other tubes back then, I mean, because I had an SVD and I had a Vamo, and then you got a Pro Vari, and like just the way it felt so nice. I mean, that was like the highest of the high end to me back then. I never thought I'd spend, a couple $100 on a mod. Now I see a $200 mod that looks awesome, and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good price, actually.
Yeah, right?
Now you know how I feel about beers. When I see a bottle of beer that's, $25, I go, hey, that's not bad for that beer. Yeah. I'm going to buy that.
I'd say, like, for beer, 18 might be my tops. Yeah, although I have bought more expensive, but 18's a lot for
there's a big gap between my, like, $18, $19 is about the highest I'll go, and then I have nothing in between, but then I spent $60 on a bottle of 2012 Firestone Sticky Monkey.
Yeah.
So that's my highest, I guess, is $60.
Yeah, we all have a beer budget, vape budget, and it fluctuates too.
If we start talking about beer again, I'm gonna get resting bitch face. And say something racist that wasn't actually racist, but now everyone thinks I'm a racist. Thanks a lot.
Nobody heard your racist comments. Thanks for editing.
All they heard was, "Wow, that was racist." And so then I had people asking me like, "Matt, are you a racist?"
What did you say?
Like,
nothing. So, what are you guys' thoughts about series versus parallel? Let's just talk. There's been a big trend lately for series boxes. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like parallel. I have a feeling I would like series if I built that way. But as it stands, I build low, so I like parallel. I just recently reviewed a series box, and I botched the whole thing. I put way too low of a build on there. It was all burning and horrid, and people just unleashed hell in the comments, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you really need to." Blah, 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 blah.
You need to learn how to build for
I
a
take that
series box.
constructively. I'm like, okay, this was my first try at a series box. I have a couple more, and I still need to experiment with them. I have a feeling I'll like it once I get acclimated to it, but as it stands, I like parallel boxes.
I'm the same way. You like to build one certain way and have lots of different devices that'll all work for that type of way you build.
Yes.
Like having to build, and that's one thing that's turned me off about temp control. It's like, okay, I'll build my tank that I like to use in temp control, but then I can only use it on this one mod, and then you got to remember what's built for what. Series is popular, like I was saying earlier. Series tubes, stacked tubes, are pretty popular in Europe, and they'll use like tanks, like the Vapor Giant, stuff like that. They'll build like a .678 in a tank, and obviously you're getting way more voltage, and some people swear by it. I haven't really played with it enough to say whether I like it or not, but I like using, when I'm building a dripper, I like to use thicker gauge wire. Having to use 28 gauge or 30 gauge just so I can put it on a series box doesn't really seem worth it to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with you guys on that one for sure. I prefer, if it's just like a straight, unregulated series versus parallel box, I definitely would pick the parallel. But just because you do have to build differently. And Matt, you were saying about the Vapor Giant. I did a review on the Vapor Giant, like their newer versions of all their stuff, and I built that tank at 2 ohms or something. I didn't even know how to build at 2 ohms. Like, it took me like 3 or 4 builds to figure it out, and I was building it with like 28 gauge and like a million wraps. How do you do this with a stacked? And then the mod is just like, a yard long.
Yeah.
But, for me right now, I appreciate that series boxes are around, but I think I personally prefer the parallels as well. Clowns, bro.
I keep over dripping in this Kennedy and get it all over my mod. And
That's what your shirts are for.
Paint. I'm telling you, you gotta paint.
I know, but I'm not patient. I just want to fucking drop juice in there and get going.
Like the Aeolus? What?
Yeah. What else should we? What does interest me is tube mechs. What we're gonna see happen with tube mechs over the next year.
Let's talk about that. Like, is it truly the death of the tube mech?
I don't think it is. I think that you got, that's a tough one, because with the DNA 200, you will see some cloud chaser type vapors that might start moving in that direction and get away from their mechs. But mechs are just kind of one of those things where they're cool. Some people will always use them. They're cool looking. There's just something about a mech that you really can't explain, but when you're used to using it, you're used to firing one with your middle finger or your pinky or something. I don't know. I'll always use them sometimes.
I'll always use them sometimes.
meaning I'll use them, but not like I use mechs at home. That's about it. I use regulated when I go out and about.
Yeah, I don't think mechs are ever going to go away, because mechs are what people use in cloud competitions.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the cloud comp rules are tube mech mods. And so when Vape Capital's handing out $10,000 to blow the biggest cloud, and people are using a tube mech mod, yeah, people are going to use and buy tube mech mods. All the compers, that's a thing. All the compers down here at the last cloud comp that I went to, everyone was using tubes. Everyone was using tube mechs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still some really cool, there's popular, trendy ones coming out, like the Petrie and the Limitless ones and the Anarchist. I mean, so with that whole cloud chasing kind of, I think West Coast crowd, like you were saying earlier, they're still sold quite a bit. You see a lot of, I mean, they sell out of the Petrie in a lot of shops.
That's still a mod that I'm going to buy. I'm waiting for the like matte gray one to come out. That's like I'm still buying one because that switch, it's a thing of beauty.
It is. I agree with you. And the new Rig V2 mod is great. That just came out, and it's awesome. And I think hybrid top caps, everybody's going to be using hybrid top caps because voltage drop.
Mm-hmm.
Because voltage drop. It is funny, you still do have a small segment, and usually in the high end, like the people that use like Genesis atomizers and stuff, that still use like the shorter 18350, 18500 mechs with like a little Jenny, at 1 ohm or something. And so that's still a thing. Like that's still fairly trendy. There's still people making just 18350 mechanicals.
Yeah.
Which they are pretty fucking cool. I mean, just a little mechanical. It's
full 2 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're using like a Jenny where they have super tight airflow and it's built to like 1.2 or something like that, I mean, you're still gonna have to bring a couple batteries with you for a whole, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember bringing my turtle ship mech to Vape Bash 2014, and I had it in 18350 mode, and then I bought at Bash, like the purple E-Fest, and I had because in like a little, like your little battery carriers, you can hold 4 of them, like going sideways in a little carrier. So I just had that with me, and I think I was just running my K-Fun on it.
Yeah, it was your K-Fun. I remember.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, I was happy as a pig in shit. It was great. And now I have I'm going to be reviewing. I'm sure you guys are too. The Oro Stealth.
Oh yeah.
I'm not reviewing that.
Okay.
I mean, I have one. I'm not reviewing it.
It's like trying to figure out what to put on it now is because you're so limited by the battery, and I vape way, I build significantly lower than I used to. So I built my Derringer, I think, to has a 0.7 ohm build on it, and I'm vaping on it, and I'm like, this sucks.
The best thing for 18350s is just Jenny's, like a
little thing.
And that's a cool vape that a lot of people still like. Trying to use a dripper on there with a decent amount of airflow, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. So I don't know. I still like mechs, and I still use my favorite mech right now is the 29, and the 29 by Bay City Vapors. That's been out for a long time. They're actually kind of hard to find, but it's a fantastic mech, Yeah. And
glass, I will never get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would have to be for something really important, but I mean, it's just like the pinnacle of mechs for me. And they're expensive too, though. But the Switch is just if Jesus made a mech mod, he would have made the glass. That was stupid. Sorry if I offended anybody there.
Let's not walk into blasphemy territory.
Oh, lightning. One thing going forward with box mods that does excite me is ergonomics part of it. We're seeing more and more comfortable box mods, like the XVO stick right here. That's still kind of a box mod, but it's curved. All you have to do is squeeze your hand, and you're hitting the trigger, or you're hitting the fire button. It's tiny, and so we're just seeing more and more of people taking the box mod style and then doing their own thing with it with different contours and stuff. And those are the kind of mods that I love.
Well, this is one of the most popular kits right now.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And it's round. It's a box mod, but it's rounded. It's super comfortable to use. It's really easy. And even like the iStick 50 watt. I think the iSticks kind of maybe were some of like the first ones to take a box mod, but make it like more ergonomic, make it rounder, and make it more comfortable to use. I don't know.
I'm agreeing with you.
I think I think some of the reasons why. Well, one of the reasons why I think shut up, Nick. Why they went out of popularity is because of the expense of mechs. Like mechs, when I bought my first mech, it was $180 for a stainless steel tube with brass contacts. Like, I don't know, do you guys think that I mean, you're, as a reviewer, you guys probably noticed that in the comments.
Yeah, when I get happy when I get a mech mod and it's good and it's under $100. To me, that's like a home run. That's like, people won't get mad at me now for liking this. I think you're going to be hard pressed to be selling mech mods to the general public, to like mass proletariat people, for over $100.
Yeah, it's tough being a reviewer because sometimes you feel in the middle because you understand both sides. I'll talk to like a modder and he'll tell me, it'll be like, hey, this was $150 because I spent money on this. This enclosure costed me that. In order to get these contacts coated, I had to take them to another shop, and they charged me through the ass of, And so, like, you get it. People think a lot of these modders are like, I mean, not talking about a mech, but like the Vapor Flask. So many people gave me shit about when I reviewed that thing because it's $300. Yeah. Charlie told me how much, and I'm not going to say it because that would be rude, how much that thing cost to have him make, and it is absurd. Like, machining in the United States is just fucking nuts. And so you're kind of in the middle there where you get both sides. As a consumer, consumers are addicted to cheap Chinese products because in their lives, that's, most of the stuff they buy is made by China. And then you have this piece of metal that's made in the States, and they're not used to that. They think it should cost $20. So
I think that people don't mind spending money on something if they feel like it's something that they couldn't do. Like, people will spend $1,200 on a big TV because they couldn't build their own big TV. When you look at a tube mech mod, you kind of look at how simplistic it is and how it's just a spring and a contact and a tube, and you go, I could do that. Why does that cost so much money? There's like this separation. I feel like if you feel like you can do it, that you don't want to pay that much money for it. But if you can't do it, like a car, I mean, some people can build cars, but if you feel like you can't do it, then you don't mind paying money for it.
And these modders are stuck because then when they finally go to China, when they're like, okay, fuck it, I'm going to make a cheaper mod, I'm going to have some of my stuff made in China, then they get shit from the anti-China crowd. So it's like they're kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't. I don't, like compared to juice makers and how much money a lot of these juice makers make, I mean, modders do not make that much money. A lot of them just do it because they love it, and it's the smaller modders especially. But it's tough. I mean, United States manufacturing is just fucking dead. I mean,
well, and to get it's difficult to explain that too. Like, if you're reviewing a product that is like an inexpensive American-made mech, right? Because there's still like the stigma. I could make it cheaper, like the tugboat mechs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a fine mech. It works great, and it's $100. But still, there are still people who are like, that's overpriced. I could make it cheaper. And I'm like, awesome. If you know a machinist, if you're a machinist, make a mod, make it cheaper, and sell it.
Well, what people don't get is they don't get, like, first there's a lot of mouths to feed. There's a lot of people to pay in the process of selling a mech. And China makes a way bigger profit margin than any of these American modders do. So say like you got the tugboat mech, maybe it costs them $20, $25 to have them make it. Then they have to wholesale it for about $45 or $50. So they're really only, they're not making that full. You know, people think, oh, that costed them $5 and they're getting $100 for it. That's such a horrible markup. That's not really how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not how it works. I mean, but it's the same way in juice, too.
Yeah, that's true.
If you sell a $20 bottle of juice, I'm not getting $19 every time you buy a $20 bottle of juice just because the materials cost $1.50. There's a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and you know it's a business, so people have to get their fair share.
You have wholesale, you have distributors, you have manufacturing costs.
Yeah, you have employees to pay as well.
Yeah, we went off on a totally different tangent. We're all just complaining.
Yeah,
when us three to get together, we end up bitching and complaining about it.
And drinking beer sometimes, and Matt gets extra waxy.
And Ruby farts and burps when she's sitting next to me the whole time.
It's true. I haven't had a
Put
single
your
fart
knees
or
on
burp
camera.
tonight.
I want to see your knee.
Yeah, we want to see your knees. Knees.
Show the knees. Show the knees. Show the knees.
There's a knee. I see a knee. Yes.
It's funny. Somebody in your I went through your comments once after that video, and then I'm like, I'm not doing this again because it's just gonna upset me. And somebody was like, "Matt has a small head, but I have a fucking huge head." Put my head as far back as possible, and then you got my chest and my belly, and then my knees, 3 feet in front of me. And so yeah, it's like it's depth perception, bro. Fucking, do you even 3D? Like, doesn't? Yeah, I wear like a 7 5/8 hat. I have a huge honking head.
Perception. Yeah, there was more comments about you guys on that video than anything else.
Maybe we're just, I don't know how to finish that sentence.
So did we miss anything with the whole box mod talk?
Box mod 2 mod.
Are there any like comments? Does anybody have any questions?
Oh yeah, we should ask the chat. Dear chat, do you have any questions?
Ask Grandpa Grimm segment.
Grandpa Grimm segment.
Well, I have more questions for Nick actually. So you pulled out that like green plasticky whatever.
The VMU.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So you were talking. I remember you were talking too about the monkey. Did it have a monkey name?
Oh, the monkey box?
No, the kazoo, right?
Oh, the big kazoo. Yeah, the big kazoo is basically this same exact box. This was like the Hammond box of 2011.
Oh, okay.
A lot of modders were using this exact box, and they were either variable voltage or they were 5-volt regulated. And the big kazoo was a 5-volt regulated, same exact box, same exact button in the exact same place. 510 connection on the top, and it was 5-volt regulated, and they just cranked out these plastic boxes, and you can buy them for like $25 because they're plastic boxes.
The big kazoo, like the mod you could buy for that cheap?
Yeah, super cheap. It was under $30 for the big kazoo, and you could get a 5-volt. I mean, you had to buy batteries and atomizers and juice and all that, but you could still get. I mean, they were plastic. No one's going to charge over $30 for 8 cents worth of plastic that they put a button on. You know what I mean? It's one of those cases of I could do that. In fact, Kalamazoo Vapor Shop, who were at VaporCon West,
yes, they were.
They are the ones that made the big kazoo. That was their first mod. And then they also made, I'm not sure if you're going to see this, this is a single 14500 unregulated, which back then wasn't a thing. It was just 3.7 volts, one little tiny little clear box that was a box mod. Single battery box mod. And these were like $19 to buy. And they were fantastic. And I love them. And Ruby Roo's ignoring me. Hey, that's fine.
I'm listening.
No, that's all good.
I'm here. Hold on. No, I was listening. Hold on.
Do you even broadcast?
No, apparently I don't know how to broadcast.
That is
a live webcast with my family.
Get your family in check, Ruby.
I know, right? Josh, you can hear him? Josh is just standing in the doorway.
Hi, Josh.
They say hi.
Oh, that's right. The Missy Wet Box. Does anybody remember the Missy Wet Box? Flitz just mentioned it. It was a plastic squonker box.
Missy Wet Box. Missy's
Yeah, it was
Wet
called the
Box.
Missy Wet Box.
What?
It was the same thing. It was the same box, but there was a little 3 mil bottle that you squonked to your atomizer.
Did you
and then you
squonk it
vaped
to
it.
like not a cardo, but like a dripping atomizer?
Yeah, like the old Chinese, which still sell. They still exist. They're just Chinese disposable Joytech 510 atomizers. Because that's all we had. That's what we used.
One of the questions in chat is if we think there will be more American mods than Chinese mods coming out in the future. No. As long as a lot of people aren't willing to pay for American manufacturing, bottom line. The hobbyists that understand it and then like a product because of the person behind it and they like the fact that it was handmade in little batches, then sure, that stuff will always be around. But as far as mass-produced box mods, China's king. I mean, they always will be.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted you to talk about your long hair atheist days as well.
No, we don't talk about that. I had long hair. I looked like Wayne from Wayne's World, and I used to be super crazy militant atheist, which I've become much more relaxed as life has gone on.
I have too. You know, I used to be so much more political and you know, an atheist trying to get into arguments with people, and now I just don't fucking care. Like, to each his own.
Yeah, live and let live, man. That's how
Like, we're all gonna die. Let's just try to have a good time and have good lives.
It's peace,
YOLO.
man. Peace. YOLO. YOLO on the reg. Shout out. YOLO. So we've concluded that the mech isn't dead. It's just like taking a break. Kinda. And I do really think that because of the influx of Chinese-made boxes, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. Like, the trend of box mods, it's not going anywhere.
No.
Yeah, I hope to see personally as, like, you know, Ruby Roo the Vapor, not necessarily me the reviewer, but there are more mech boxes.
Yeah.
Like, mech boxes have been around forever, and I personally would like to see those continue on. What do you got there, Nick? What's that?
Oh, that's my SVD 18650 with a clearomizer. It takes up the whole camera. It's just Goliath.
That thing is so much taller than it needed to be too, like compared to the other tube, like compared to like the Vamo. I mean, that thing was a good like couple inches taller.
Yeah. Even when you compare it to like a mech mod, like, do you see this amount of difference right here? That is obscene. That is ridiculous.
Oh,
Sorry,
man.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ruby Roo.
No, that's awesome. I welcome interruptions from.
Somebody
from
also
GrimmGreen.
asked in the comments about temp control on whether we think it's a fad or if it's here to stay.
Oh man.
Now that temp control mods are coming out with more wattage, I think it's going to get more and more popular.
I used to think it was a fad. I think it's here to stay now.
Yeah.
I want to build a lot more with nickel and titanium because I love the vape that I'm getting from this Jolit 44. 127 watts, 520 degrees, 0.11 dual nickel coil, 28 gauge, and it's amazing. It feels exactly like a dripper, at 0.09 on a regulated or an unregulated box. It feels the exact same.
Yeah.
Except no dry hits.
The only thing at this point that would kill it is like if we did a bunch of research and found out that nickel and titanium were just awful for us. But then somebody would end up.
Yeah. There is that video going around about nickel. At least 100 people have sent it to me.
Yeah, that guy had an agenda too. I've talked to a few scientists and that had a background in metallurgy, and I think there were some things he got wrong. One thing that Mass said in the comments, and he's totally right, is one of the only things that's really going to change box mods drastically is battery tech. So,
Yeah.
If they can fit more and more mod into smaller batteries, or more and more amps into smaller batteries, that could change the whole game as well. Right now, you keep hearing. I get emails all the time, dude. Have you seen this new 18650 battery that's got 50 amps. It's like that's not. China just puts whatever they want on the label. It's just impossible right now to have a 50 amp 18650 battery.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's maybe one of the other things that has kept mechs from growing, essentially, like that side of the market, is batteries.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you think about it, like 26650 mechs were kind of a big thing, like, you know, late 2014, early 2015, but now they're like gone, pretty much. Like, you really don't see that many more on the market, but those batteries had a much higher amp rating and much higher mAh, so you would think that they would have become more popular, but it's almost like the box mod sort of took over the 26650 market, really.
Yeah, and there'll be advances in batteries, but it's going to take time before they're, you know, readily available to the mass market to be able to even be used in mods. And so, you know, it's going to take time. I think the technology will get there. I think it's just going to take a long time.
Yeah. The one thing that's limiting us is damn batteries.
Fucking batteries, dude.
Well, 26650s too, like when they were popular, the one downside was a lot of the batteries seem to have more like a voltage drop than 18650s.
Yeah.
Then later on, once box mods already got popular, people started finding like the purple E-Fests tend to perform a lot better. But yeah, there's some good 26650 Mac mods, but
The BFM is awesome.
what I hated were the 30 millimeter atomizers. I've never really had a 30 millimeter RDA that I've liked.
No, me either. Not enough. You have to like pack them with coils, essentially, to get like a nice saturated vape. You have to just pack them with coils. But anyway.
Well, do we have anything else to talk about?
I don't know. Box mods rule. Box mods rule. But Macs are cool too. I don't know. Is that our like conclusion?
That's pretty much what we said.
I still rock both, so it is what it is.
Fucking A.
Fucking A. Well said, man. Fuck yeah, man.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Eat a dick, GrimmGreen.
Eat a D.
Oh, eat a D. That's right. That's what I said, not dick.
You messed up your own catchphrase.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll let everyone go.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Nick. It was a good time, as always.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a cup. What?
Shit.
Just buy me a beer next time you see me.
At ECC.
Yep.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah. All three of us are going to be at ECC, and
Yes.
and we're going to make our video to get Todd to come back.
Yes.
Yeah. Come back, Todd.
Collaboration. I know he misses it already. He's just a stubborn Scotsman that doesn't want to admit it.
I don't think he'll be gone for long, but I do appreciate the need to chill out for a bit.
He seemed pretty sincere in his video.
I know, I was getting teary.
I think you got overwhelmed, you know, and I get overwhelmed too. Sometimes you feel like you're getting pulled in tons of different directions, and Facebook messages, and you know, like you kind of got to pick and choose who you have conversations with.
Yeah,
it's tough. All right, well, we will let you go, guys. On that note.
On that note, we missed Todd.
We'll be back. What's 2 weeks from now? Is that?
Oh dear, is that ECC?
2 weeks. No, because 2 weeks from now is the 5th. So we'll be back with the show on the 5th.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Well, have a great night, guys.
Peace.